Hello, my name is Stefania Pineda. I am a doctor in veterinary specialized in animal behavior, and I currently work in the ethology service in the Complutense University of Madrid. During the past weeks, we've been publishing different videos to make the COVID-19 situation easier. The aim of today's video is to be able to recognize certain signs that might avert behavior problems in our pets post-quarantine. That's why we have to start working with our pets now, during quarantine, to see our pets' evolution and how they cope with those routine changes. Keep in mind, their whole world has changed from being alone 8 hours to being completely accompanied, a situation which has led to a hyper attachment with the owner and that causes anxiety and emotional alterations in the animal. That's why one of the main disorders we will have in clinical ethology will be attachment disorders, one of the most common being separation anxiety. As its own name implies, the animal shows anxiety signs, but not only organic signs, it also shows mental and emotional signs, as well as thoughts of being left alone and abandoned. Thus, it's a disorder that heavily alters animal welfare. It's usually suffered by young animals between 8 months up to 2.5 years of age. It's also very frequent in abandoned animals as they carry an inner trauma of having been abandoned and that the situation might repeat itself. The first thing we should take into account and be wary of are the signs that come with this disorder. Some of them are very significant, such as crying, barking, inadequate elimination. We might find poo or pee in places where the animal didn't used to eliminate, but other signs might go undetected. Such signs might be the constant chasing of the owner before they leave, salivation that may occur heavily or by drops. Some animals have panting problems, respiratory problems, tachycardia from the angst of thinking that they will be left alone. Destruction disorders. Before, they didn't destroy things, but now they've begun to destroy things that aren't their toys but belong to the household. We may have other anxiety signs that accompany the disorder. According to the importance of said signs, we will have to focus therapy in one or another direction. The important thing to take into account are the recommendations that we have to do during confinement and then small programmed outings that we'll have to do as protocols during several weeks after the lock-in. The first thing we have to do are small changes in our animals' attachment behaviors, especially to try and create more self-confidence in themselves and avoid that they are with us all the time. This is very important because when we go back to work, it will happen overnight and the animal won't have time to understand the situation. So, for example, if we used to go to the kitchen to grab something to drink and the dog had access to the kitchen all the time, it would now be ideal that the dog doesn't go in the kitchen with you. Have a seat, drink your tea or coffee, and keep the door closed so your dog can't come in. If you used to shower with the door open and your dog lay by the door to keep you company, avoid that situation. If you're doing recreational activities like watching TV and the animal is on the couch cuddled to you, you can move aside a bit so that your pet is not in direct physical contact with you. It's important not to reinforce anxious conducts. Avoid talking to your pet, telling them not to do it, telling them to leave, or even telling them off, or giving them treats so they stop chasing after you, or giving them toys. What all of this is doing is reinforcing those anxious behaviors. However, there is something more important than ignoring your pet's unwanted behavior. When they stop doing them, you must reward them. For example, if you've gone into the kitchen and your pet scratches at the door, barks, or whines, right when it stops, you will open the door and interact with your pet. The idea is to reward all states of calmness and not the states of anxiety. It's important to take into account different kinds of interactions and how environmental enrichment will help us. It would be great to start working with a crate or cage now, not closed, as it may cause more anxiety and stress to certain animals, but for them to understand that it's a safe space that they can recur to when they feel anxious or lonely. Said cage or crate can be covered, have a blanket, scattered small treats, environmental enrichment, and we can also enrich the ambience with relaxing music, fragrances that are naturally relaxing, such as lavender and chamomile, and we can even record ourselves reading a story. The dog knows we're not home, but it can feel the peace in our voice, and that can
sabe que no
help them stay more
estamos,
calm.
pero siente la tranquilidad de nuestra voz y puede ayudar.
We
También
can also
ciertas
use
herramientas
certain
online
online
permiten
tools
que
that
se
allow us to
conecten
connect via camera,
por
through which
cámara
we can
y tú
observe our
puedes ver
pets and
observar al
also talk
animal,
to
pero
them.
además
And
le
that may
puede
help our
hablar y
pets
él
relax,
puede
as well as get a new routine
tranquilizarse,
in which,
¿vale?
although we leave home, they
Y
can
coger
still
una
hear our
rutina,
voices.
¿no?
Or
En
you
el
can
que
also
se
leave
va,
a
pero que,
shirt
sin
or something
embargo,
that
se
has
recuerde
your
su
scent
voz
on it,
o, por
and that
ejemplo,
can
puede
also
dejar
help
una
them in
camiseta
staying
o
more
algo que le
calm.
recuerde su olor. Eso puede ayudar bastante a que el animal esté un poco más tranquilo. Luego, lo ideal
Afterwards,
sería
it would
ser
be
horas de
ideal to
salidas
make programmed
programadas, es
outings,
decir,
meaning you
que
leave home
empiece
from
a
time to
salir poco
time,
a poco usted de
gradually
domicilio,
increasing the amount of time you spend
aumentando esos
outside,
tiempos,
but changing
pero
certain
cambiando
routines you did
ciertas
before
rutinas que
leaving.
usted realizaba. Por
For
ejemplo,
example,
si usted
if you
se
used to
levantaba,
wake up,
desayunaba,
have
se lavaba los
breakfast,
dientes, se
brush your
vestía y
teeth,
se
and
iba,
leave,
pues la idea es
the
empezar a
idea
cambiar
would
esa
be to
rutina,
change
¿no?
that routine.
O
Or if
si
when you arrived
usted
home
cuando
from
llegaba del
work was
trabajo
when
era
you
cuando
watered the
regaba las
plants,
plantas,
you can
pues
water
puede
them
ahora
before you
regarlas antes
leave.
de irse. Es
It's very
importante que el
important
animal
that your
no
pet
vea el
doesn't see
momento
the
de la
moment of you
salida. Si usted
leaving.
tiene la
If you
posibilidad
have
de
the
salir cuerpo a
possibility to
cuerpo,
exit through
sería lo
another
ideal.
door, that
Si
would
no
be
tiene esa
ideal.
posibilidad,
If you
porque
don't
hay algún
have that
juguete
possibility,
interactivo,
prepare an
usted puede
interactive
organizar que el
toy
animal
that you may
vaya a ese
throw, your
juguete y
pet
usted
goes after
salga
it,
del
and you
domicilio
leave
sin que el
home
perro se dé
without the
cuenta.
dog
Con
noticing.
esto hablamos
Remember,
que
it's not
no es
good to
bueno ni
talk to or
hablar
say
de
goodbye to your
despedirse ni
pet
nada
as it
porque
may
está
reinforce
reforzando el
that
mecanismo
anxious
de la ansiedad.
behavior.
Márchese
Leave
al
for
trabajo, por
work
ejemplo,
with
con
different
una
clothes
ropa
on. If
diferente. Si
you've
usted
gotten used to
está
wearing
acostumbrado
sports
estos
clothes these
días a usar
days,
ropa del
the
deporte,
idea is that you leave home with
la
those
idea es que
clothes
usted
and
salga de
change at
casa con
work
esa
so that
ropa
your pet
y
doesn't
que
correlate
ya
you
en el trabajo
changing
eso cambie,
clothes,
para que el
going to
animal
work,
no
and then
relacione que está
staying home
cambiando de
alone
ropa
for
porque
many
evidentemente usted
hours.
va a salir a trabajar y se va
Remember
a
that
quedar
the
muchas horas
technique
solo.
is to start
Recuerde que
working
la
routines
técnica
in
es
different
empezar a
ways so
trabajar
that the
las
dog
rutinas de diferente
loses the
forma para que el perro
association of
pierda
certain
esa
stimuli.
asociación de ciertos
Be very
estímulos,
aware of
estar
any
muy pendiente
changes
de los
in eating
cambios a nivel de
behavior
la conducta
because they may start
alimenticia,
eating
para
more
que
or
coman
not eat at
más o
all,
pueden dejar de comer,
elimination behavior,
conducta
comfort and
eliminativa,
resting behavior,
conducta de
playing
confort y de
behavior, or any
descanso,
other sign that
conducta
you
de juego,
think your pet didn't used to do
o
and is
alguna
now
otra
doing.
o algún otro signo que usted crea que el animal nunca lo hacía y lo está haciendo en este momento. Por si usted detecta
If you
algún
detect
cambio
any
en todas
changes
estas
in the
conductas
before
anteriormente
mentioned
citadas,
behaviors,
recuerde que es
remember that it's
fundamental
fundamental to reach out
el
treatment
tratamiento
with
con
a
un especialista
behavior
en medicina del
specialist.
comportamiento, desde el Servicio de
From
Comportamiento
our
Animal
Animal
de la
Behavior
Universidad
Service in
Complutense
Complutense University,
agradecemos
we thank you all for the
toda
support and
la
views our videos have
colaboración
had,
y las
and we
vistas que hemos
remind you
tenido
that
a
our
los programas
service will
realizados
offer
y
consultations again
recordamos
as
que el
soon as the
servicio
government rules
volverá a prestar
deconfinement.
consulta a partir de que el gobierno decrete el estado de desconfinamiento.